Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geek Tank, where everything is a matter of geek. We're your hosts. I'm Zia.
And I'm Kay.
And I am reoccurring guest Chris.
Stop that. Just stop that.
He keeps on doing it. People tell him to stop. I tell him in the comments to stop. Chris, you're a host now. You're on like every fucking episode now.
Yeah, I guess
Pretty
that's
much.
true. So I'll say I'm reoccurring host, Chris.
Reoccurring host, Chris. There you
Okay,
go.
reoccurring host.
And today, your reoccurring host and his other two hosts are at Massimo Art Gallery again, which they are still doing their Art Wars event. So, if you like the idea of coming in and painting a Stormtrooper or Kylo Ren head, this is the place to come. You can RSVP at any time. And also, next month, May the 4th, be with you. They're doing a special event. So that would definitely be a time to check them out and check out the Art Wars event. They've also got an exhibition coming up for flower paintings. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. They got, got awesome artist Margarita.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say Margarita?
Margarita. Yeah, I think you got drinks on the mind.
Yeah. Anyways, so
Fruity
she's
drinks.
an amazing artist. She's got a whole bunch of paintings of nature and flowers, and they're gonna do a whole celebration of that. But also on May 4th, May the Force be with you. They're gonna do a big celebration for Star Wars. They're gonna have costume contests. They're gonna have all these artists just battling it out.
That's right.
It's gonna be.
And
dope-ass event.
they are doing the Art Wars on that day too, correct?
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be 7 p.m. May 4th, which is a Saturday, I believe.
mark your calendars.
Check it out.
We'll have all the links to that in the comments below.
And I'm probably gonna be there.
Yeah, well, I'll probably be there too, since if it's a Saturday, I'll be there. So you can chill with us, and I'll drag reoccurring host Chris out to that as well.
You're like drag me like UFC style, like firemen carry me into the freaking trunk.
Well, no, because I don't grapple when it comes to martial arts. So, what I'll do first is I'll strike and knock you out, and then I'll drag you.
You're gonna have to come with like the chloroform. Does it smell like chloroform?
All right, guys, stay on topic now. Stay on topic.
What is the
We're the
topic
mask.
today, Kay?
Well, if you saw our previous video, we did a big event at the Copper Rocket Pub. We covered that event. It was a Game of Thrones event.
It was.
It was the premiere of the final season.
So wait, could we be talking about? Dun, 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 dun,
What do
dun,
we
dun.
Peter Dinklage. So yes, as you know, we're gonna be talking about the Thrones of Games, the Game of Thrones,
The game of chairs.
Yeah, pretty
Gonna
much.
keep abstracting
high
it.
stakes, high stakes.
The
musical
competition
chairs.
for which an iron chair is the winner.
Yes.
It's a very
A
high
very
stake
pokey chair.
musical chair. So let's get into it. I mean, what genre do you guys consider Game of Thrones to be?
Go ahead,
For you
Z.
guys.
Jump in here, brother.
Oh, well, I mean, the obvious answer is fantasy, but I think Game of Thrones is kind of broaching that literary area because it's breaking a bunch of tropes and you just don't know what to expect from it. It's one of those ones that, okay, so I hate to get into the whole literary versus genre debate because I think it's bullshit, but
You can go on. You can just touch on it.
let's just say that Game of Thrones is fantasy, political intrigue, and adventure. It's got some drama, and it breaks a lot of tropes. So I think it's one of those things that's hard to just classify as one genre or other.
I always thought like labeling stuff as genres is kind of superfluous because everything can technically be labeled drama. Think about it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct in that.
I love that word too. Superfluous.
Superfluous.
Wow.
Yes.
Word of the day, guys.
Verily, this vichyssoise verbiage is overly verbose.
So, in
Wow,
comparison,
man, why you gotta use all these big
Are you guys
words?
into fantasy?
I'm actually really not. Urban fantasy, I kind of like, but high fantasy, not really. No.
So, in comparison to like other fantasy books, how would you rate Game of Thrones? Like,
Can I jump in here?
yeah,
Okay,
jump in, dude.
well,
This is why I'm
Dude,
asking
it's a
both of you.
free-form conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, so I just don't like to interrupt people, but I'd say I'm a pretty big fan of fantasy as a genre, talking books and not. I don't see it really well done in like movies or or TV shows, but I like the Witcher franchise, which is considered fantasy. I think you could consider the Harry Potter books fantasy if you wanted to.
Yeah, like contemporary fantasy.
And I mean, I just started reading The Sword of Truth, which is also considered fantasy. Discworld is considered fantasy, so I have a little bit of general knowledge about fantasy. And it's weird because I would consider Game of Thrones, I mean, if I was compared to any other TV show, surprisingly, it would be more akin to House of Cards because it's more political intrigue. I've always seen it as more political intrigue and less of, I'd say, like, especially like the Witcher franchise, it's more about the action and the fantasy, like the action, the adventure, you know, going out killing monsters or like having big battles. And Game of Thrones has moments of that, like the Battle of the Bastards or the Battle of the Blackwater Bay. But besides that, it's mostly political scheming and maneuvering behind the scenes, which is perfectly fine. But I mean, I think if you go in the expectation that it's going to be an action adventure, you know, thing, you're going to be really disappointed.
Like typical
with Game of
fantasy,
Thrones.
chosen one bullshit.
Exactly.
It's not that. It's very character.
Why are you guys talking about Lord of the Rings like that, bro? I feel like you guys are attacking Lord of the Rings. Like,
I am attacking Lord of the Rings.
That's history there.
I'm not attacking Lord of the Rings. I specifically said fantasy isn't really up my alley for the most part. I mean, there's always exceptions, but I typically don't get into it. But no, what about you? What is your relationship with the fantasy genre?
I've always been, I don't know what, like, I love medieval knights and, like, that lore and stuff, so I've always loved that. Like, my history of fantasy's got to be with, like, the King Arthur stuff.
See, I'll agree with you there. I like King Arthur stuff.
I love that mythology, I guess. And that's pretty much the extent. I was never really a fan of the Lord of the Rings like books or the movies. Sorry to say that, but
yeah, because a lot of people love it, and I can see why. It harkens back to a lot of mythology. I mean, from what I understand, Lord of the Rings was based on Beowulf, and I love Beowulf.
Yeah, I love that too.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Jesus.
Yeah, but I don't like Lord of the Rings. I don't know why. Like I tried watching the movies. I haven't read the book, so I can't comment.
I've only read the Hobbit book. I haven't read it actually though.
Okay, so you've seen the book. I mean, you read the book, and have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't seen the movies.
Okay, I kind of missed the movie, man. Yes, you've seen it. So, how do you compare them, the book and the movie? Are they both as slow?
Yeah, I guess I can say The Hobbit's pretty slow. Yeah, I mean, I think you and I always have this problem. Is like it's not as good as the book. Like be those people, but yeah, it's not as good as the book. Like, I'm not saying even the book is even that good, but I'm saying I think the books were substantially better than the Hobbit movies.
Well, we've also talked about this before that the thing about books for us that we like so much is that, you know, our vision's always going to be better than the director, or not always, but I think for the most part,
the writer.
Yeah, not the writer. Because the writer writes with the knowledge that you're going to be supplying all the details.
Yeah.
You are the director of their script when you read the book. So it's like...
Big advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the movie Excalibur. I think it was in the 80s. It had Sir Patrick Stewart in it. Young Patrick Stewart.
I haven't seen it, my brother.
It was an awesome take on, like, the King Arthur mythology. It goes all into, like, okay, you know how his father raped the girl, blah blah blah, and then that's how Arthur was born and all this shit. Like, it goes into, like, the history of, like, really the dark aspects of the King Arthur mythology as you compare to see it now, where it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you know, King Arthur's sword and stone and bullshit.
Yeah.
But, and that's another thing with Game of Thrones, it is fantasy, but it is, like, very grounded fantasy.
Right, and it's very dark.
It's very dark, and it seems very regal conversation between the characters, and
that's another thing that you're touching on that's very true of Game of Thrones. It's very character driven. You have these characters with multitudes of layers and a huge level of depth that you don't see in fantasy, and you also don't see it in a lot of stories in general. It's it's long. It's as long as it is for a reason, because it's extremely detailed. And I know in the last event we did at the Copper Rocket that we kind of joked about how in the books George R. R. Martin can kind of go on and on with his descriptions, but he does so in such a way that you feel like you're in this world. You can see everything.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you're about to say something.
I was going to say I agree with Zia, and that's one of the great strengths of both books and I'd say TV shows is you get to develop a character over a much longer period of time than if you're giving a 2-hour, because most films are 2-hour period of time for a movie, so, or 10 hours if you're playing a video game.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, with the conversation, like, the Game of Thrones, even the books and the TV show, we can pretty much agree on, it's based on the conversations, like, the story is told through the conversations between characters. As compared, like, as in,
yeah, like if you mean in the sense that you find out like what's happening in like another part of the world, you kind of find out through word of mouth from another character. So you don't know if that's the actual reality, or if that's just what the rumor is spreading.
And that's the thing. It's like it's just so entertaining to see how these characters interact in this world, and it's just so grounded and just so natural. And it's just like it's so natural to the point where it's like you get transported into that world.
It's. I was like, what?
But yeah.
Okay. But I'd say one of the big advantages, if I didn't want to interrupt you, is
I lost my train of thought.
Is Game of Thrones does a really good job of establishing world without having somebody plot dump. And it's something I noticed while I'm rewatching the episodes. Like, for instance, I don't want to use it as a bad example, but I'm going to use it as a bad example. In Harry Potter, you have that long monologue that Hagrid has with Harry where he's pretty much explaining like the entirety of the wizard world to him. And that's something that's never really explained so much in Game of Thrones. But, like, for instance, by the end of the first couple episodes, you generally know where the big action is going to be taking place without them having to like explain in long diatribes what happens there. Like when we're good talking about the show here, not the books, but when Ned Stark breaks up with Jon and Jon Snow says he's going to the Wall to the north, you're like, okay, so in my mind, Winterfell is to the south of the Wall, but King's Landing is to the south, way south of Winterfell. So now you're going to have action in 3 different places without you've built a world without having to like plot up every 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's not like you have like that narration just tells you, okay, so this is what's going on in the battle, blah, blah, blah. No, you find out stuff through conversation between the characters.
Exactly.
In the world.
It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't insult the audience's intelligence.
And I think it just does a fantastic job of that in comparison to other fantasy genre, like novels and movies. It's just you feel a part of that world. You feel like you're witnessing the conversation there when you're reading it or you're watching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and kind of going back into the realism aspect of this world, another thing is how it makes use of the fantasy elements. So, like in the show and the books, there's certain religions and mythologies to this own world, or that this world has of its own. For instance, the legend of Azor Ahai, the legendary warrior that's supposed to come back. There's that. There's all the different religions, like the 7 gods, the many-faced god, and so on and so forth. And it's just, there's so much thought put into the world. So much of it.
One thing I really like about the world is I think in some other shows or some other fantasy series, they use magic as a way so they don't have to explain everything. Mm-hmm. Magic is used very rarely in Game of Thrones, and when it's used, it doesn't cause like reality bending situations to occur, more or less. Like, think of the very few times that magic, the essence of magic has been used. Revival of Jon Snow. Spoiler! No. Revival.
I think everyone knows at this point that Jon Snow's alive.
And everyone should know that we're going to go into spoilers.
Yeah, we'll put this as the point where we're going into spoiler territory.
Yeah, kind of jumped forward, but like besides that, like think of that, like maybe like Jon Snow being revived, that's a little bit magic. What the White Walkers do is magic, but they're magic beings. Mm-hmm. Maybe what dragons do is is magic because they're breathing fire. But besides that, there's not many instances of magic being used as a way to actually pull bullshit out of your ass.
Yeah, it's not a
For
Deus
lack of a
Ex.
better term.
Yeah, it's not like a Deus Ex Machina or whatever,
Exactly.
like tool where it's like, okay, well, we're gonna defeat Sauron with blah blah blah.
Magic
Or, you
ring.
know.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
burned in a volcano.
It's not the basis of the show. It's not like the center of the show.
Yeah. Again, I think we nailed it before when we said that the center of the show is actually the political intrigue and the characters, their interactions between each other, and also their journeys.
Yeah.
Obviously, that one goes without saying, because each of these characters changes a lot over the course of the story.
And there's so many characters, and it's just
Also,
like,
dude,
my god.
Okay, so at the end of each book, they have a section that tells you all of the characters. So it goes through all the major houses, and it's like,
Yep.
okay, these are the heads of the house, these are their kids, these are the lesser people of the house, and so on and so forth, and it just lists all these characters. And dude, I'll be reading the names, I'm like,
I'm not gonna remember
I
all
sort of
this.
remember this person, but I can't remember what their description was, what they looked like in my head when I read that part.
I think
what
it's
they
hard,
did, what they
harder in the
said.
books, though. I mean, like in the
Oh,
TV show,
yeah.
I think it's easier.
Yeah, because you actually
Well,
get
yeah.
to see someone's face and you get
Yeah,
to make
you
a
get-
facial recognition.
Yeah, you could put the name with the face.
Yes.
But even then, for me, I mean, like, I'm really bad with names, as you all know. It's just, there's so much going on, but there's, like, so much you want to know. It just leaves you just, like, give me more. Give me more, George R. R. Martin. Give
Yeah.
me more food and
What I like-
descriptions. I don't know.
What I like about the characters, especially the ones that, I think that everybody has the misconception about Game of Thrones where, like, they're killing off people left and right, which wouldn't say is exactly the case, but they do kill off people and they're not afraid to, which I think is a good part of the show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that I really like to think of them in context of, like, Greek myths, because a lot of the characters, they die because of their own character flaws. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's thing that generally should be a good thing, but when done in excess is bad. Like, spoiler, when Ned Stark dies, it's really his clinging to his honor and not really recognizing the deceit around him. Same thing when his
Yeah.
son dies. He's too honorable, and he doesn't realize that sometimes you need to put away your honor for a
And
second.
Ned Stark's death hurt me the most because he was my favorite character because he was so honorable, and I did not think he would die. I just didn't think that he would be a character they killed off, and they did. It was just like, I was waiting for a moment where it was like, oh no, that wasn't actually Ned Stark. He didn't actually die. But then it was just like, no, he's dead.
He was waiting for
He's
the
fucking
magic.
dead.
He was waiting for the magic.
I should have
Dude.
known, because at that point they had
His kindness to Robert killed him.
dude. All I know is that I should have known that Ned was gonna die, because when I started reading the books, the show was already going, and Sean Bean was cast as Ned Stark.
Yeah,
and
that should have
Sean
been the
Bean
first-
Always died.
He doesn't die in National Treasure. He just gets arrested.
Okay, but that's essentially death. He's going to prison for life. He stole the fucking Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all. I like that whole thing with your own character flaws being your demise, and I think it's a reoccurring element throughout the show. I mean, it happens with Joffrey, it happens with Robb, it happens to Ramsay, it happens to a lot of people.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, though, right, is like, it's us as the fans that kind of make it like, oh, no one is safe. It's not like essentially like a part of the story of Game of Thrones where it's like, okay, it's not like centered around like, okay, well, who's gonna die next? That's what we made it out to be.
Exactly.
Right.
But I do like that aspect where it's just kind of like no one is safe because.
No one is safe from our perspective.
Yeah, no one is
but-
safe from our perspective. Obviously, we don't know what.
But the author is it's a different case.
Yeah, for
because he knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, as a writer, I can say he's not going to know everything
Mhm.
that's going to happen, but he has an idea of
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Like it's just cool to see that. Like, okay, you would think, oh, Robb Stark would just be the one of the Iron Throne. Like, he's like the true son of Ned Stark, and he's gonna get the revenge and blah blah blah. But then it's just like, nope.
Well, that's the thing. It's breaking all these tropes. This
Yeah.
is why I was saying
Yeah.
before that it's we have all these expectations because we see a lot of very similar stories, which makes sense because there's only so many stories you can tell. But now what's happening with this is, okay, all these established fantasy stories that you see kind of just that only get like a surface layer touch up. You can use a little painting metaphor since we're in an art gallery. And instead, what he's doing is he's painting something entirely new.
Yeah, it's just like he's breaking that thing that we've been so ingrained all our lives, like that basic hero story where it's just like, okay, you know.
I mean, I would still argue it is still a basic hero story, but
At
the
least it
question
became
now is
that.
who is our hero?
Yeah, I
who
agree
is
with that.
really our hero?
Yeah.
I think it
We're-
was more ambiguous in the beginning, like who the hero is going to be, because you didn't know. You were like, who?
I think in the books it's still ambiguous.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think this is a good point to transition into how the books and the show are different.
Yes.
I think the books it's still ambiguous. I think in the show it's not as ambiguous. We've narrowed it down.
Yeah.
Jon Snow, probably.
Yeah.
It could
Would
be Jon Snow. I thought maybe. Oh yeah, we were saying that we like now in the show we've narrowed it down a bit where we've kind of figured out who the hero might be.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into our theories now. Now we're really jumping into spoiler territory.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you haven't been keeping up with the latest season, shut this off now. Get out, unless you don't care about
Judo.
spoilers.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out. No, but
Yeah, if you don't care about spoilers, man, yeah, you're the real MVP.
okay. So let me first state that I haven't watched much of the show. I saw like the first 3 episodes of the first season, and I saw the first episode of the last season. Of this season. And I've read 4 of the books. You guys are totally caught up on the show, correct?
Correct, Mundo.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've read none of the books,
I've read none of the books.
and you've read two of the books. Okay. So I'm gonna let you guys take it from here because technically you have more knowledge of it than I do. Who do you think the main hero is?
Jon Snow, unquestionably. I would say right now I'm still whether it's Jon Snow or Daenerys. I'm more leaning to Jon Snow, but in my mind's eye, it's Jon Snow or Daenerys.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially the second episode kind of the final season cemented that Jon Snow, right? But is he going to take up... It's still kind of ambiguous on whether, like, you know, who's going to get the Iron Throne.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's like they set him up as a hero, but we still don't know whether he's going to be on the Iron
King.
Be the king.
Okay.
Because they also, spoiler, obviously, the cringiest scene that we've seen so far in Game of Thrones with
Arya.
Arya and Gendry.
Oh man,
They kind of set them up to be like the next, you know, the future of
Westeros.
Yeah,
What was your
Westeros.
opinion on that as somebody who's, you know, taken this 8-season journey and, you know, with...
I was like, shut it off. Shut
Dude,
it off.
I didn't see it. I only heard about it from this one. He was giving me the recap of episode 2
Okay.
of season 8, and even I'm just like, stop, shut up, shut up. I don't want to hear about this. This is weird. It's like I get it. The
yeah.
actress is not a child anymore, and nor is the character.
I think she's 19. She's 19 or 20, so it's
Yeah.
not,
So-
it's not
but
bad.
it's- in my mind.
But then it's like you seeing these characters just grow up on the show.
it's
so
it's
just
still
kinda
like
it's
in
still
your
kinda like, yeah.
head.
Yeah, as a fan, you know, like as how invested you are as a fan. It's kind of like you've seen like. Wow,
I mean,
you know,
it's
you're so
like as a
invested,
parent,
yeah.
would you want to watch your child have sex?
Yeah.
Even though they're
But
an
then-
adult.
Yeah.
My thing was I didn't think the transition between like them talking and having sex was particularly effective. I thought it was too rushed. It was just like
Well, that's
bang.
the thing. I agree with you on that because it just there were so many plot lines, and this is the final season. I felt like episode 2 was just kind of like rushing it to like, okay, let's close it. We gotta get this
Yeah.
done with. We have had this built up in all these seasons between them. Let's get it over with now.
Dude, I've been saying like the same thing for like the last like 2 seasons. I'm like it's been sliding in terms
Yeah.
of quality.
Yeah. I mean, I personally think that that's probably because the show is now ahead of the books, and it's not Martin's writing anymore, because they had such rich material to work with that you know they're adapting it. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's not challenging in its own right, but they didn't have to come up with their own original material. So it that for me, that's definitely why there's a decrease in the quality of the writing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, episode 2 for me was just kind of like.
And besides that one scene, I didn't have too many problems, but it's like they're building the fight. And main thing is, besides that scene, I thought the episode itself was just like, I don't know about
Yeah.
you. You're just like,
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I get it. You guys got all these plot holes that you guys gotta kind of tie up before this big battle. But then it's like the way it was delivered and the conversations just felt unnatural. It didn't really feel like, to me, like George R. R. Martin's writing.
I agree with you.
Well, from what you told me about the Arya Gendry conversation, I was kind of just like, wow, this sounds like such
Typical trope. It was like such a typical trope thing, you know? It was just kind of like, oh, yeah, we got this big battle. We don't know if we're going to survive. Let's fuck.
Yeah, it's like that kind of shit. I'm just like, ugh.
Which has been done in a lot of other stuff.
A lot of other stuff. But,
So it's not even the fact that it's just that it's weird because it's Arya, who like we said is kind of like everyone watched her grow up. So that's one aspect to it being weird. But then it's like it's poorly written, or maybe not poorly, but it's it's not
so
up
rushed.
to par with
Yeah.
what Game of Thrones was delivering earlier on.
But I don't know. I don't know. I just like the last 2 episodes. I'll save my reserve judgment because the last is there going to be 8 episodes in this season? Did they say, or is it 6?
6.
I think it's 6.
Okay, I'll reserve my judgment to the last 4 episodes come out, and then I can look at like the season collectively. But yeah, I'm not digging the first 2 episodes so far.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can say that, you know, jumping in from book 4 into that season 8 episode 1, even I thought I saw a drop in quality. I didn't really comment on it at the time because I'm like, I don't really have the basis to say so.
But
Like,
you saw the first 3 episodes of the first
right,
season,
which
you
was pretty
said.
true to the book.
Yeah.
But like I haven't seen anything else up until this point, and I noticed it, but I didn't want to say anything because I'm like, I don't have. I haven't seen enough to make that call.
Okay.
But then when I started talking with other people, it was like, okay, so that is an accurate observation that it has dropped off.
Yeah, because it just felt like after when they got ahead of George R. R. Martin's writing, it just felt like they kind of like started pandering to the fans.
I agree.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, you know, fan service works, obviously. It's servicing fans.
But then don't make it right. Kind of, if you're gonna do that, like
it's because the problem is that Game of Thrones was not about that before.
yeah, it was just like, hey, you know, I understand like it's business, it's money, whatever.
Yeah. And also there's constraints to doing a show. They're never going to capture the same level of detail as the books because the books can be as long as they want.
Can we talk about like the differences between like, because you're the book guy, you should talk about
Yeah.
some of the differences.
Well, he barely watched the show though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't say what's
So you would have to
You'd
bring
have
up
to-
an example for him.
So like I left off the end of the second book of Game of Thrones, and it's kind of I noticed some differences. Like for instance, do you remember in the second book where Daenerys kind of wanders a bit before she actually gets into the city of was it Marine?
I think it was it might have been
Karth.
Marine or
No,
Karth.
it was
I think-
Karth.
Yeah, because
That actually did not actually happen in the TV show. She kind of just went to Karth almost immediately. You didn't get that nice in between where she's wondering what she should do, where she should be going.
yeah. I mean, I can understand why they cut that out because it is rather long, but I do think that sort of thing was important to her character because she was looking for her purpose while she was also wandering. It was kind of like that her internal reality was matching her external one.
And also you know, she got into like a sort of like relationship with I wouldn't say it's a relationship, but it's more like a camaraderie with one of the rich townspeople in Karth. And you know,
I vaguely remember.
the guy with all the rings on
was
him.
it Jalabar Zoe was his name?
You
Something
got a
like that?
good, better memory than you, so I'd say you do that. That wasn't
There's
really,
too many fucking names.
There's a lot of names.
especially like the names like that. How the fuck am I supposed
They're
to?
cool. Those names are cool as fuck. But
Yeah, but that wasn't really a part of like the show at all, I would say.
okay.
But I mean, that's like one example off the top of my head where I thought the book did it better because you could say in the book the reason he was actually interested in Wither is if he got her to marry him, he would actually have control of one of the dragons, and that's not explicitly said in the season 2 of the show.
So I can understand why things like that would happen in the show, like why those things would kind of be lost in translation, and it just has to do less with the fact that the heads of the show were trying to do their own thing, and more
It's time constraints.
exactly time and length constraints, budget, all that stuff. So that's really the problem there.
And we're talking about good things that the show did. The relationship between Bronn and Tyrion in the show is, I'd say, much better done than the books. Because their friendship in the TV show is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't comment on
It is great.
versus the
Braun,
books.
Braun is fucking. I love that dude, and it's just sad to see what's gonna.
I mean, I don't remember liking him much in the book. I mean, like, I don't.
The
think
TV
he's
show,
like an
I mean,
asshole,
he's
but
you just love him.
He's a lovable asshole, kind of like
That probably is-
Tormund.
Yeah.
oh well, I love Tormund in the book.
Okay, so then you're gonna love him.
Yeah, Tormund's just lovable because like, that's a great character. But
Honorable too.
dude, I still remember his story from the books when he's telling it about.
Yeah, that like his parts in the show in the recent 2 episodes, like he makes it for me for those first 2 episodes of the final season.
I really like Jamie
Really?
Lannister.
I liked his interaction with Bran.
Yeah. He's like, oh, shit. so
Oh, I thought you said Brienne, but no, Bran.
both Bran and Brienne. I mean, I enjoyed that. I mean, I think he's developed the most as a character.
Yeah, I find it funny that Bran has kind of just evolved into this creepy staring character because he's pretty well rounded in the books.
Well, he's sort of like you read The Giver.
Yeah,
He's
I
He's
get
the
that.
receiver of memory, more or less.
Yeah, for the memory of the world is what I think they're going for now.
The
based
way
on what
he
I've heard.
fucks with Jamie
Yeah.
is hilarious.
It sort of reminded
I
him.
just love it.
He's been doing that. Like, remember when Littlefinger gave him the dagger, and
Yeah.
he goes, chaos provides an opportunity. You see, Brandis looks at Littlefinger, and he's just like, but isn't chaos a ladder? And like Littlefinger's like, how the fuck did you know that I said that?
Bran just comes up with like these witty fucking like shit. Like with Jamie, spoiler, episode 2, when you finally see that interaction between them, it's like the things we do for love.
And then he's like,
And he's like, oh shit. Oh fuck. Jamie's just like, you just see him just instantly look like he's about to shit his pants, but then
It's like that one Jordan Peele meme where he's just sweating.
Yeah. And then when they go to that tree or whatever, he's having the conversation.
yeah,
with them.
the werewood tree.
The werewood tree, and he's just like, oh, why didn't you say anything? Well, what I did. He's like, well,
They'd kill you.
they'll kill you, and we need all hands on deck. And he's like, oh, well, what about afterwards? And
Like-
the fucking line that he says, he's like, do you think there's gonna be an afterwards?
He's like, I'm not so sure yet.
Jamie's fucking face, man. It's
He's just like,
oh shit! Like in the way that actor delivers that line, it's just like unemotional. It's just straight deadpan look, and it's just like, oh
Did
fuck!
you-
Like, it would send shivers down someone's
did
spine.
you actually catch the kid who plays Bran on Conan this week?
No.
Oh,
Oh.
I think I saw what you're
No,
talking
but
about.
essentially what he was saying, he goes, your stare has become a meme. And he goes, yeah, I realized that. He goes, what makes you think you have such a piercing stare? He goes, you don't understand. I have to wear contacts because my vision's so bad because he wears glasses.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think he said he doesn't wear the contacts, so he can't see shit.
So he can't see shit. So the reason why is, that scene, that creepy, we're talking about, the creepy Bronn thing happened when he's talking to Sansa, and he goes to Sansa, I saw you on your wedding night. You look so beautiful. And then Sansa came up to the actor afterwards. He was like, my God, your stare is like so piercing. He goes, yeah, that's because I couldn't see. So he's just looking like right at her like, is that you over there?
He's just a fucking blur.
Yeah, he's just a blur.
That's how my fucking vision is too. If I take off my glasses, I can't see shit.
I feel for him. I'm looking at this camera right now, and it could be a camera, it could just be a black spot.
Pretty much.
It could be
And
a
I see 2
poltergeist.
of them. If I take off my glasses.
I'm not a devil, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. I think I'd have to read more of the books so I could actually say it. But I mean, I read 2 of the books, and it's just, like I said, you could see when they started to like not follow like George R. R. Martin's narrative, and it's kind of pretty obvious.
Yeah, and there's a part, now that I'm thinking about it, that we talked about that's missing from the show that's in the books, and that's the 2 characters, Rorge and Biter. They're not in the show, and you told me this too, right? That
They're
Rorge
in the
and Biter-
show. They're just very like they don't get like any lines whatsoever.
Yeah.
I remember them being pretty important in the books, especially for Arya's and Brienne's storylines. So yeah, they're pretty much like the terrible 2.
But and this is another thing we were talking about on the way here about Lady Stoneheart not being in the TV show.
There's another big one.
And Barristan Selmy actually dies in the TV show pretty early.
Yeah.
Where I think he becomes the Hand of the Queen for Daenerys in the books.
Did he? Oh, see, I can't even remember now.
His
might
fake
have.
name is Arston Whitebeard.
Oh yeah. You're right. That's why I wasn't remembering, because Arston Whitebeard.
So Chris, I got a question for you. What do you think about Daenerys' treatment to Tyrion?
My main thing is Tyrion. What made him like so great even in the books is that he's cunning. He's cunning not in the way his father was. His father didn't really care. He was just whether he killed anybody or doesn't. It didn't matter. Tyrion was cunning, but he was still honorable at the same time. But to see him in these last 2 seasons really getting outwitted by people that have no business on like the same intellectual level as him, like Jaime is, to his credit. I mean, he's more of a warrior and less of like a strategist. So when he outwits Tyrion, you're like, how?
It's not consistent with his character.
It's not consistent with this character, but that's also another of his flaws, is he chooses to believe the good in people, which, I mean, considering how much Cersei has fucked him over, I don't see how he could possibly see the good in her.
Yeah, well, I don't believe that either. Like, just from what I've read of him in the books, like, he's not trusting Cersei. I just don't buy it.
But then I feel... So I'm going to oppose you guys on that, in a sense where it's just kind of like, you know, he's bound to that family. That is essential, like, even though Cersei's a bitch, that is his
He's
sister.
never wanted anything harmful for her. But...
See, because in the books, in the third one, because he doesn't appear in the fourth one, to me, when he kills his father, that's him severing ties with his family. He's fucking done. I don't know, does that not happen in the show?
No, it does.
Okay. So for me, that's him severing ties with his family, because
Not-
to kill your father in that world is a big deal. That's a big fucking deal. To kill a family member.
He never had anything wrong with Jaime, so I wouldn't say it's his family, because he still considers Jaime his family.
Yeah.
Jaime was the one that, you know, he's said time and again, in the books at least, that he actually liked. He was the only family member that was actually ever good to him.
His uncle, too.
His uncle.
Yeah.
But
it just felt like, I guess they were trying to give him more of a character development, where it's kind of like...
I just don't like Daenerys. I'm just not digging it. She's kind of like, you can't fail. I'm like, that's the whole point of your hand, is to make mistakes. Like, human beings are flawed, like, inherently.
Yeah, and like, I guess like, that was the whole point of that arc, little miniature arc, you can say, because like you see the other characters defending it in front of Daenerys. You see Jorah the explorer.
Jorah the third wheel perpetually.
He straight up, he's like, hey man, like to Daenerys, like, hey, you're kind of being a little too hard on him. Like, if there's anybody, like, you know, I used to be your hand until I betrayed your ass, whatever, you know, until you found out that shit. He was like, but you should still keep him as your hand.
Yeah.
Like, he's still one of the smartest. And then even Davos, he straight up like tells her, he's like, no, he's fucking smart. Don't.
Speaking about a character that has good development, Davos is like the underrated guy.
Dude, I love Davos.
Yeah.
I always tell him that, like, Davos is such a cool character, especially in the third book when he comes back after the Battle of the Blackwater and he's lost some of his sons and he's just like fucking hardened. He's like, I'm gonna kill that red bitch.
Melisandre.
Well, the thing is that's interesting is in the books I never felt like what's Robert's brother's name? Oh God, I'm blanking on his name.
Aren't there two
Stannis?
brothers? Stannis?
Yeah,
and,
Stannis. In the books, it's more portrayed like Stannis isn't like in with the whole like red lady vibe. He's just sort of like, I need her because I need like her supporters. He's kind of like a agnostic who's just like, I'm the chosen one, whatever. In the TV show, it's more like he really believes in the religion. It's kind of weird.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I think that develops though in the TV show, because like before, like when you get that first impression of Stannis, you see like he just straight to the book, like, nah, that's my fucking brother's throne.
No, but it's like after he has like sex with Melisandre, that was like it.
Well, that was the thing. It was like after, I guess that they showed that kind of development to where it's like, okay, now he believes in this voodoo magic bullshit. After he does that, like, oh, okay, it actually worked. Now I gotta fucking. This is actually gonna help me.
Also, Renly was better in the books, but I really like Renly in the books.
So, Going back to
You kind of jumped around there, but yeah.
but going back to I mean, I guess it's not really going back. It's still jumping off of this. But with the Red Woman, do you guys remember her prophecy about Azor Ahai, right?
Yeah.
No.
The prince that was promised.
Okay, so basically Azor Ahai is supposed to be reborn when like the red comet is streaking through the sky, and he's going to be born under a star, and like they say all these different things. And in the there's been a lot of debate among fans about who Azor Ahai is going to be, and it seems now like the show is kind of like pushing Jon Snow as this hero that's gonna beat the Night King. But based on the books, it seems more like it's Daenerys, even though Melisandre always thought it was going to be Stannis.
Melisandre kind of switched in the TV show because when she met Jon Snow, she's like, "You're different, you're different." And then when Stannis loses the battle to what's his name, Ramsay, he loses that battle and he pretty much dies, and he's a non-entity.
Okay.
That's when she like kind of switches like fully to Jon Snow's side. So I think from that moment on in the TV show, she's like, I think Jon Snow is the prince that was promised, but she thinks that Daenerys, because Daenerys is the queen of dragons, and dragons are the representatives of fire, and fire is the Lord of Light, and everything else. She's kind of supporting
she's all
her.
over the place.
Yeah. And now that we know that Jon Snow is also a Targaryen,
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, it kind of
Spoiler!
makes sense.
No.
You said it earlier.
So, do either of you feel like now they're kind of like pushing Daenerys to kind of go the route of her father? Like one of the crazy Targaryens?
Yeah,
Because it seems
unfortunately.
like they're going for that.
Because they did that kind of with
The
Sam.
Tullys.
Yeah.
The Tullys,
Yeah.
Where, she was just kind of like unapologetic, like, well,
They didn't bow. They have
they
to be
didn't
burned.
fucking bend the knee on me.
Well, also based on what you guys are saying about the whole Tyrion situation, it seems like a similar case. Like she's being very hard on him when everyone else is like, "Yo, chill out." So maybe she is going that crazy route.
I wouldn't say she's going crazy. It's just more like she feels like, okay, now I'm here. Why aren't they fucking listening to me? And I told them, but it is being like that. Okay, that it feels like an immature drunk with power kind of.
Well,
that's
which
why I
could,
think
which could like escalate into full on craziness.
I think that's the one thing that that Jon Snow. I mean, that's why I don't want to be like show favoritism, but I think he's like more effective is because he had the to go through the same thing when he became the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, is people not really listening to him having to make decisions despite what other people think, whereas Daenerys isn't like matured to that level yet where, Jon Snow really understood where the other people were coming from, and that's why he never really did anything. Like, who was the name of that bastard who stabbed him in the heart? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
what was it? It was something with an O, right? Ollie Oliver or something like that.
I think so.
No, I'm talking about the leader of that group that stabbed him.
Oh.
You know which one, the blonde guy who was like old and,
Yeah.
never...
I know who you're talking about. I can't
He never really, like, hated that guy, but he was always there to take his advice. He was like, well, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I understand where you're coming from. I don't feel Daenerys has that mentality. She's sort of like, I'm doing this. I don't care if you're my hand. I'm, like, not taking your advice.
Yeah. It just shows, it doesn't, like, for me, it doesn't seem like she's going crazy. It just shows, like, her inexperience.
Yeah, maturity, yeah.
Yeah.
Experience, maturity, yeah.
Okay. Well, again, I can't say as
Yeah.
much because I haven't seen the rest of the show. I haven't even seen episode 2 of season 8. I'm just going based on what other people are saying. It just seems like they're pushing her into like a more. It's not a nice light they're showing her in when you consider again the scene with Sam, this thing going on with Tyrion, the fact that, especially the fact that Sam says like, oh, what does he say to Jon in the Tombs? Basically that.
No, you're the rightful heir.
But
to the throne.
then something about you gave something like you gave something up, which she
Yeah.
you bent the knee to her, which she bend if since you're
Pretty
a
much like
Targaryen.
it came down to like, would she give the throne up to you?
Yeah.
That's what he straight up like put that thought in his head. Like, would she do it?
No, she wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's
so
not her
well,
personality.
she wouldn't, and she's technically not the rightful heir.
We don't know that because at the end of episode 2,
Dude.
John tells her.
Yeah.
John tells her that he's Aegon Targaryen, and like she's questioning it, like, oh, is it true and stuff like this? Like, they wouldn't lie to me. And it's like, and it just leaves off as a cliffhanger. It's like, well, you know what this means, right? Are the rightful heir to the throne.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hinting at like them actually still getting together and maybe taking over the throne
Yeah.
as king and queen. But
Because incest is okay in this world. That
No,
happens
but-
all the time.
No, but I don't know if you're familiar with the lore, but that's a common theme throughout the Targaryen dynasty.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
no,
all
yeah,
the
yeah,
Targaryens
yeah, yeah.
were pretty much inbred.
Yeah.
so it's like still kind of up in the air, but it's the way like it was acted out. It seems like, okay, yeah, this is the direction that they're gonna get married. They're gonna defeat the Night Kings, and they're gonna fuck around with Cersei and go into be the Iron Throne. But then it's also like, hey, you got Arya and Gendry.
I don't think they're like going
So-
that like they're gonna be like that, but I mean I still think Arya is gonna be the one to knock Cersei out because that's
it's on
that's
the
her
list.
goal.
The list.
Yeah, I think everyone would like to see that happen, and since they're pretty much going the fan servicey route, it's probably a safe bet that it will.
Oh, yeah.
happen.
Needle right through the throat.
Ooh.
Everybody's like, I think the theories were going around like she's gonna put on Jaime's face.
Oh.
Then
Oh.
Jaime's gonna die. She's gonna put on Jaime's face, and whatever magic that she uses is gonna.
I don't
she's
want to
gonna-
see Jaime
she's-
die.
I don't know.
No, the thing is, like, okay, Jaime started out as a shitbag, and then they force you to start reading from his perspective. I think you need either the second or the third book. I'll say it was
I would
three.
say I
because
would
three
have
is the
like
magic number.
if you saw like the reason he killed the reason people hate him is because he killed the Mad King. The reason he killed the Mad King was because Mad King was gonna torch everybody in King's Landing.
Yeah, yeah.
He was gonna like burn everybody to the ground. So he's like, well, I'm not having that happen. So he killed him to like prevent like the massacre of tens of thousands of people.
Right. But no, just in general, like, he's kind of a shitbag at the start.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
But he develops so well over the course of books 3 and 4 that it's just like you come to understand this character so much, and he actually becomes a good person. You know, he starts as a shitbag, and like you kind of start to empathize with him because it's hard not to when you're reading from someone's
I
perspective.
get that, but then I think it's gonna come down to like where fans are gonna be like, I'm pretty sure they want him to survive, but it's gonna come. I feel like it's gonna come down to like the bad things that he has done. He hasn't like repented completely for it, and his last repentment is gonna be with this fucking death.
Yeah, it'll probably be some kind of heroic death.
That's what I say.
I like I said, if I was to take bets on people that would be surviving, he would not be surviving. I think that if I had to like name like 2 or 3 people that I know for a fact are going to survive, to me it would be Daenerys, Snow, and one of the
Brienne, I feel, is gonna survive.
No, I was going to say one of the Stark sisters. One of them I know is going to survive, but I don't know which one.
I'm gonna say this: if Brienne and Tormund don't make a fucking like giant babies, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be mad. That is my power couple right there.
See, that's why they got to kill Jaime.
That's what I'm
there's this-
saying.
This thing
We
between
missed
her and-
the great scene that Tormund had in the first episode. His eyes, they're blue. My eyes have always been blue.
yeah, dude. Oh my fucking god, Tormund. Like I said, even though the first 2 episodes of the final season was slow, Tormund just fucking like makes it entertaining for me.
Yeah.
Like his short amount of scenes that he has, like when he just straight up, like when they had that fireplace scene, Tormund just fucking walks up in there, alpha dogs, like, you know why they call me fucking Giants Bane? Straight up tells his story, man. And he just like, in the moment he enters Winterfell from his journey or whatever, he just kind of like, where's Brienne at? Tackles fucking
Where's
Jon
my
Snow.
big girl?
Yeah, where's my big girl?
I like with Sir Davos' reaction after he tells the story. I think I'm going to have that drink.
yeah.
Like I said, Sir Davos is really underrated.
Dude, I love Davos. I've always loved him. Such a cool character. And it's funny because he starts off so cowardly, and then like
He's not really
like,
cowardly. He's
No, I felt in the books he kind of had a bit of like cowardice to him, but not in an unreasonable way. Like he felt like a real guy because he wasn't.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't like a soldier. He was a fucking pirate.
Onion.
Not even a pirate, but like he was a smuggler.
Yeah, smuggler.
Yeah.
Onion smuggler.
You could say he is like the very mature, older Han Solo of Game of Thrones in a sense. I guess like he's like an old Han Solo. Like I've seen some shit. I've done some shit.
I think like Han Solo would be like Tyrion, wouldn't it be like?
Yeah, I
Like
don't know
I'll
if I'd
have
say
some witty
Davos
remarks
is,
about some shit, but I still have not like Han Solo, but like maybe even like a mature, like I said, like a mature, not like Jack Sparrow in a sense. I guess I don't know. Well, not as
No.
eccentric.
Oh, there kind of is that Jack Sparrow aspect.
I was gonna
too,
say
'cause
though,
he did end up shipwrecked on that one
Yeah.
little thing.
Yeah.
After the Battle of Blackwater, and was like half starved and mad.
I was
And
gonna
that's what he comes-
I was gonna
sorry.
say though, like there's so many like good characters that have died in Game of Thrones. Like I really love like in the first season, Robert Baratheon is fucking like a riot whenever he's on screen. I mean,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
he's a bit of a like he's kind of not the smartest king in the world, but when he comes up and like that moment where he like slaps Cersei and she's like, "I'll wear this with a badge of honor," and he's like, "Wear it in silence, or I'll honor you again." And you know, Cersei had it coming, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
just-
you kind of have sympathy for her in that sense because it's like she is being abused by her husband, but she's also a villain. She's straight up one of
Villainous.
the worst. Well, whatever, villainess.
Yeah, villainess,
You know
yeah,
what I mean,
yeah.
but she is by far one of the worst characters in the show.
Yeah, there's no redeeming that.
And
bitch.
it's like, okay, you want to hate on Robert because he was a womanizer, he was a chauvinist, he's this and that. I mean, Cersei's the same way. She plays all the same tools.
that
she
fucking
does it.
scene, earn your queen, and then there's
Oh
just
my
fucking like
Oh my God.
straight up just bends over, just spreads us apart, like, hey, come get this.
Jesus Christ.
Like, come get this fucking queen pussy.
character. She's
I was
horrible.
always
The actress is phenomenal.
Yeah,
Character is
Lena Headey.
horrible.
I was always
You love
debating
to hate that character.
the first 3 seasons of the show whether I hated Joffrey or Cersei more, and I could never decide. I was like,
Joffrey.
Dude, for me, Joffrey, because
Joffrey.
that one scene where he's playing with, when they show him with the crossbow, and then like the one chick.
that never actually happened in the books.
That never. I never read the books, but like that one chick, like
I
you know,
can't remember.
that was like Littlefinger's
Ho.
hoe, whatever. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, he shot her with a crossbow multiple times.
Yeah, just use her as a fucking like target dummy,
You know.
straight up, and then they show that like this guy is fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, I mean he was a dick. I mean, his death was very very satisfying. But the one thing that was bad about the death was the repercussion was that Tyrion really had to leave King's Landing, and I think that's what really made King's Landing interesting, is because Tyrion's character. I mean, he's got all the vices in the world, but at heart he's a good guy.
Dude, he was cleaning up King's Landing, too. Tyrion was doing good work.
And then Tywin came in, and I really like Tywin as a character. He's like that guy you don't mess with. Like I even like that scene where Joffrey like yelled at Tywin, and Tywin's like,
Yeah, he gave him that look. He was like, you know, that
Yeah.
gif. Really?
No, Tywin was an interesting character. He's another one of those characters that you don't like in the sense like, hey, this is like one of the bad guys, though. That's how I felt. But interesting character. Again, same with Cersei. Interesting character. You just don't like her because she's a bitch. Tywin is also a bitch. Fuck them both.
yeah.
For the most part, I don't like the Lannisters, but I do like Jaime and Tyrion and the uncle. The uncle's also.
Kevin.
Yeah.
He's not in the show like at all.
Yeah. I think we only heard mentions of him, right?
Yep.
Which is sad because he definitely gets a lot of mention in the books.
Yeah, he nothing in the show.
Like I said, man.
But Tywin in the show, I think, takes a larger role than he does in the books.
Yeah.
He doesn't show up a lot in the books.
He shows up with Brig.
And not like directly shows up. I mean,
It's played by Charles Dance too, man. That guy acts the fuck out of that role, man.
Yeah.
Freaking.
He knows how to fucking do his shit. He knows how to act.
And also other scenes that weren't in the book were the scenes between Arya and Tywin at Harrenhal. Those scenes are not in the book, which I thought were really good for the second season. You're like, oh shit, she's learned from Tywin. Oh shit, is he gonna figure out who she is? Oh shit.
yeah, I only remember it vaguely.
Yeah.
I do remember her being at Harrenhal, and I do remember Tywin being there. I just don't remember a lot of it.
He's actually in the TV show. She's actually his cupbearer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I remember.
Yeah. She's like the one who pours the wine or whatever and water.
It's interesting dynamic because if you found out who she was, that was not good.
Yeah. It's like the tension is like whenever you see the scenes with them, it's just like you just feel like tense up, like, oh shit, is this gonna be the moment where he finds out? And it's like, oh, nope.
And he never does.
No.
He's got too much other shit going on in King's Landing.
Arya's had an interesting journey. Very interesting.
You're talking about like that hero trope. I mean, she like traveled the hero route, like gaining all the experience, like in fighting, just as much as like Jon did.
Dude,
Yeah, RPG.
She literally lived like multiple lives because she had to assume so many different identities.
The girl
just to
is no one.
survive. Man, that's another thing. The fact that she's a girl in this world that's so hostile towards women, and she managed to survive, a girl and a child at the same time.
She's clever. Like even like Tywin says, clever in the sense that she knows what to say, when not to say it. But I mean, she still, I think, what really got beaten out of her when she went to the House of the White and Black and trained with the Faceless Men. That's when she became really dangerous.
Yeah, definitely.
Not even like the physical aspect of it. It's just like she knew when to talk, when to not. Like even with her conversations with the Hound, she didn't know like when to talk, when not to talk. You know, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, Hound is a good character too.
Yeah. I can't wait to see him in the mountain.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
so what's the deal with the
there.
mountain now? Someone explain to me because I know he did die.
He
but
did die,
now
but then he's
not
like a
dead.
zombie mountain. I think that's like explained in the books too.
Yeah.
Well,
But he can talk in the books.
Again, I'm only up to book 4, so it probably happens in book 5.
So that battle with the
Oberyn, the Red Viper.
he gets poisoned.
Yeah, that happened.
So before he gets poisoned, he fucking crushes Oberyn's head.
I remember that in the books.
So and then the Meister that's under Cersei's like, hey, revive this dude. He's like, okay, I'll do what I can, blah blah, and just turns into like this mindless
Zombie.
So it's like some voodoo shit.
Yeah, pretty much some voodoo shit, and he only listens to Cersei. That's it.
Okay.
He's pretty much like, to get to Cersei, you gotta go through. So you know what? Now that you say that, I think that's what's gonna happen. The Hound is gonna fucking get that fight with the Mountain, and Arya's gonna get to Cersei.
It's a weird.
they're gonna team up again.
No, but
They're
that's
gonna team up again.
that's the thing he says in the books though, is that he wants to kill his brother. He says it in the second book.
Yeah, I know that.
Specifically, he's like, I want to kill.
Even in the show, like he always said, like his brother's a fucking dick.
They actually swung swords at each other before too.
It's a girl and her dog going to get over the mountain to get the throne.
So I honestly believe that's what's gonna happen. Is that Arya and the Hound are gonna go get Cersei in the mountain. What are your guys' predictions?
I would like to see that happen. I don't know.
I still like your thing where like she uses the face of Jaime Lannister to get close to Cersei and like pokes her to death with a needle.
Yeah.
I like that one more.
I'm gonna poke you one last time.
I'm just thinking of all the innuendo behind that.
Yeah.
Let me poke you.
Well, yeah, I would say that might happen. I think that theory's been floating around after Jaime's death, but then again, it's gonna be like a team up thing where it's like I assumed she's gonna get Cersei in like the worst way possible, like make her feel like shit, as in like, hey, look, I'm using your brother's fucking face to get to you.
Exactly. No.
Yeah,
I don't know
I could
how that would work though, because Jaime is like 2 feet higher than her.
Well, that's the thing,
Well,
magic.
magic, man.
Magic, man.
Don't gotta explain shit.
Yeah, Jason,
I have a feeling though that they're gonna take Daenerys down the villain route, and it's gonna have to be a battle between her and Jon Snow. I don't know. I'm getting that because I just have a feeling since Jon Snow has ridden a dragon now, it's gonna be them versus each other on a dragon or some stupid over the top bullshit like that.
Then that will leave the throne to Arya and Gendry.
Well, that's bad though, because I mean she's riding Drogon, and Drogon is the strongest of the 3 dragons. Truth hurts.
Wow.
Bruh.
Fucking robocallers, I guarantee. Stop.
Anyways,
Fumbles in his pockets for the phone. Psh, Mutombo.
Anyway.
But No, you don't have to keep doing that.
Leave it on. You can put my shame in there.
Yeah, we can put your shame on it. Yeah. But I mean, I think there's like 20 characters we missed. Like we didn't even talk about Ramsay as a villain. I think he was one of the best villains in the show.
he was a fucking
I'm
sadistic
just gonna
bastard.
say
He
you
was
said
like
20 characters. I'm pretty sure it's like hundreds of characters.
Yeah.
Do I have to get the book out and start reading all the
There were
names?
definitely-
House of Baratheon, first of his name.
See, there would definitely have to be like a Game of Thrones episode part 2.
If we're gonna talk about everything and everyone.
Yeah.
You could just,
Well, I'm sure we'll have another episode once the
Yeah,
season's all done and over.
yeah, and like for closing statements.
And you know,
give
10
us-
years later when the last book comes out.
You'll see.
Sorry,
with
Martin.
You'll see me
I
with
love
the
you,
white
George R.R.
beard.
Martin. I love you, and you're a fantastic writer. And I know you are probably going through a lot of shit with this. So, I'm only joking. I know how hard it must be.
But yeah,
So closing statements, guys.
and I've endorsed the show, but I mean it has a dip in quality like every show does. There's not one show you can say that doesn't have a dip in quality at some point. I mean, House of Cards has a lot of dips in quality. Hannibal has dips in quality. Sherlock has dips in quality. So everything has dips in quality.
These shows, by the way, are all some of his favorites.
Yes, exactly. These are all some of my favorite shows. So I mean, some people like it more than I did. I've been saying the show's been declining since season 3, and nobody's believed me. But I think now that season 8, I get to point the finger and be like, "I told you so." But I still recommend the show. It's still one of the better shows I've ever seen. So
Yeah, I do see like the dip in quality as well, but then it's also like, man, I've been part of this journey for this many seasons. I gotta see it to an end.
I
Yeah.
agree with you.
It's like I said too. It's totally understandable. They have to get it done.
Yeah,
They are on a budget. They are on a time schedule.
yeah, and I see that. It's like so much to cram into just like even a TV show.
And they're trying to satisfy their fans, which there's nothing wrong with that. You know, fan service it's always going to be enjoyable. It's just my only problem is, of course, that it's not up to par with what Game of Thrones was. But hey, for those that do want that, the books are still a thing. It's going to happen.
You and I would recommend the books because I think the
I
books are
recommend
better.
the books and the show because I mean I've seen only 4 or 5 episodes, but it's still good. The story's still good. It's still there. It's still a core story intact.
Oh yeah, it still leaves you like on the edge of your seat. It still
Wanting
leaves you
more.
like wanting more.
Yeah.
I agree.
So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching Geek Tank. Make sure to subscribe, comment. You can see us on YouTube. You can hear us on Apple Podcasts,
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts,
Podbean, and hopefully more in the future.
That's right. And I'm Zia.
And I'm Kay.
Reoccurring host Chris.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm reoccurring, man.
And we will drag him back next time so we can all see you next time.